Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about knives from this company right here. This is Piranha Knives. And actually, what I have on the table here are a selection of knives from this same company. This right here, and I'll kind of introduce them all. This is the pocket model. It's not the pocket knife from Piranha, it's the pocket knife from Piranha, and it's here in the red and the black version here. In the green, we have the virus model. Oh ho ho, it's viral. Here we have the DNA model here in purple with a little bit of helix action going on in the back here. And then at the end in silver, we have the Fingerling, which is definitely the smallest of these knives. And we'll do a quick size comparison just so you can kind of get a sense of what we got going on here. Here they are against the Spyderco, and so you can see blade length-wise, we're actually coming in at a reasonable level here, with the virus and the DNA being longer, the pocket, I believe, in the same basic vicinity. Yeah, there you go. And the Fingerling being a little bit smaller. In terms of actual, cutting edge, pretty similar, but still. And then, actually, I'm going to skip that because it's weird to compare one knife to 4 or 5 of them all at once here. Next thing, I want to thank very much my buddy Steve for sending these knives along. He knew that I was checking into the Hotel California, so I would, from that point on, not be able to look at automatic knives, and so he figured he would send some of these along so I could have something on the channel about the Piranhas before I get to a point where I can only carry an auto over 2 inches. Actually, speaking of which, is an auto under 2 inches, the Protex Sprint, and probably my favorite automatic knife at this point in time. Next thing, you're probably going to notice that this is a little bit weird, a little unusual for me. I am reviewing these knives en masse. I am talking about all of them together. And, at some level, it's a little weird, it's a little different, but the thing is, these knives are much more similar than they are different. The construction on them is basically the same. You'll get some benefits from different handle shapes, some benefits from different blade shapes, but they all work in the same way, they're all built in the same way, and so I feel like it's pretty safe to talk about all of them. And then finally, note that all of these are automatic knives, which means you press a button on the handle, fires out. Look, this is fine, can be very nice in some situations, but practically speaking, yeah, not as big a fan of, just because they have a lot of legal complications. Where I am right now in Michigan, these are perfectly legal since October of 2017, thanks to knife rights. But in California, for instance, they're a felony. In Ohio, felony. That's kind of an ugly thing. So keep that in mind anytime you're looking to buy an automatic knife. There are lots of legal complications you might have to deal with. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. Actually, we're just going to focus on the good and the bad of these knives on the whole and talk about some of them individually where it comes up. On the good side, these are made in the States. Look, I always appreciate that. I'm from the U.S., and it's always nice to see something, made in my home country, so that's nice. Next thing, I got to say, some of these designs are not bad at all. I particularly like this guy, the DNA. I think it's a really nice choice. It's got that folding steak knife kind of thing. All of these have very thin stock, by the way, which I appreciate very much, and they're all S30V, which is a great steel. But these designs on the whole are actually pretty nice. This guy and the virus were sort of the standouts for me. I think the blade shape is very, very similar. But I think that they're really nice in that domain. They offer a lot in terms of that design, and at least for me, there's some appeal. Next thing, they are all featuring nice safety grooves here, which means that all of them buttons are recessed, which means even on a softer surface, I can press this into the table, and it's not exactly going to fire, and I believe that to be the case on all of them. Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely a good thing. Frankly, that's a necessary thing with any kind of a button lock automatic knife. Otherwise, it's going to be very easy to fire this guy accidentally in your pocket. Next thing, this guy, these are using S30V steel throughout the lineup here. S30V is a great steel, 100%. I love S30V, and it does good work. And I like the fact that they've standardized on that. There's no real variation. Look, it's fine steel to not vary from, so there you go. Next thing, as you can see here, these are actually very well polished. They have a little bit of a mirrorness to them each time, and it's absolutely spectacular. Not that every knife needs a mirror polish, and frankly, you can see that mirror polishes do scratch up over time. This one's been used pretty heavily by my buddy Steve, but still, that's definitely a thing. Next thing, they have very nice grinds on them. As you can see here, this is starting off with relatively thin stock, comparing to the Delica here, about similar stock thickness, but they've got a nice full flat grind here, which thins these out very much behind the edge, and means that these knives actually do cut. And that seems like something I shouldn't have to say, but in 2018, apparently I do. So I appreciate that these knives are made so they'll actually cut things. Then finally, on the good side, these guys are aiming for lower prices. $95 for the Fingerling here, about $100 for the pocket model here, again, it depends on your options on the DLC, whatever. And about $130 for the virus and the DNA. Look, that's pretty inexpensive for an automatic knife. ProTech does have a couple of options this low. For instance, the Sprint here is available at a lower price, but by and large, a lot of your good autos are going to be 200, or up, and so it's nice that they're hitting a lower price point here. And the other thing I'll highlight is that a lot of the super budget sorts of out the side automatics, or out the fronts for that matter, you can have either really bad steals or safety issues. This is not a bad price for a knife that is, well, using good materials and seems to be pretty damn safe. So to me, all that's the good, is that they're aiming for a low price. They've got thin grinds on thin stock, nice mirror polishes, S30V throughout their lineup. They've got very nice clips. Oh, did I forget to mention the clips? The clips are nice, although they're a little familiar, certainly. They've got nice grooves to hide the button and keep these guys safe. They're made in the States, and with some very interesting form factors here. The bad side, first off, unfortunately, these do very much have a bit of a Z-Hunter aesthetic. What I mean by that is that, these guys, the industrial design for the Piranha knives seems to be aimed at that sort of, let's be real here, edgy 13-year-old crowd. There's a lot of it that's designed to be like, wow, that looks really cool, and, fine, whatever, but it doesn't appeal to me. There's none of their knives in their lineup feel like, super gentlemanly pieces. Maybe this guy in black, but honestly, a lot of it comes across as gas station-y, and I'm not digging that particularly. Next thing, the clip on these guys is very, 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 very reminiscent of the Chris Reeve Knives Shabazz clip. I don't have a Shabazz handy to show that off, but wow, is that similar. Look, I don't think that that's necessarily a problem, and don't get me wrong, the Shabazz clip is great, and therefore this one is, but holy cow, they're not even trying to hide it. So that's definitely a thing. And I gotta be honest, though, one thing I'll say is that the clip doesn't fit the design well here. I mean, look at that. There's not really... In no way does this clip match the rest of this knife. Not even anodization, nothing. So it's just a little bit weird. I mean, it's a fine clip. Don't get me wrong, but doesn't quite fit in there. Next thing, these guys are a little bit tricky to disassemble and reassemble. What I mean by that is that they have to be done sort of upside down. The spring is kind of attaching on the side you wouldn't expect the spring to attach on. And that's not great, and it means that there is a trick. You watch my disassembly video, you'll get a sense of that. No big deal, but it's a thing. Next thing, you can see here that on all of these guys, the screws are actually going straight into the aluminum, coming out the other side there. And what that means is that if that strips out, your knife is going to become unsafe, particularly because of the production, or I'm sorry, the method these are produced, wherein the pivot is basically not locked to anything at all. It's just the tension of these two handles together that's keeping the pivot placed in there at all. And so that's a little scary to me, I'm going to be honest with you. But the next thing is that, speaking of disassembly, these guys, the warranty is categorically voided by disassembly. That's ugly. It may or may not be cool with the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. Haven't seen that tested knives. But it's just stupid, because honestly, if you take it apart, you put it back together correctly, it doesn't matter whether the warranty is an issue or not. If you screw it up, sure, but otherwise, that's an ugly policy. But the biggest thing that bothers me about these guys, and it is every single one of them, in fact, everybody I've talked to, every single one of them, these knives are designed in such a way that they have blade play. As you saw during the disassembly, what's going on here is that the pivot is just a piece of bar, basically, that is floating in between the scales here, and the blade is around that. And so what that means is that you get vertical and horizontal blade play on every one of these knives, ranging from, on ones that have been heavily used, really substantial play, again, in both directions, roughly, although it's much less so in the vertical dimension, but really substantial play, and that's just not good, I gotta be honest with you. They are designed to have blade play. The way that these are constructed, where they don't actually have a pivot screw that goes through the middle there, means that there is no way to adjust these to not have blade play. It's just the case that the handles go together, the pivot sits in the middle between the handles, holds onto the blade, and when you shake the blade shakes around. That's... I don't know. To me, I'm going to be honest here, that just kills any desire for these guys. I get that they're just taking a different tack in construction, but holy crap, was that striking. And so, to me, that's what's bad here, is that they've got these just serious blade play all around because of the construction design, which is designed to have blade play. Disassembly will void the warranty on these guys. The screws go straight into the aluminum. It is a bit tricky to disassemble and reassemble. It has a profoundly unoriginal clip and very much kind of a gas station aesthetic. For for me, final conclusion on the Piranha knives here, at some level, these are a nice option, I guess. They have a nice, thin, slicey S30V blade. That's great. That's the thing I like most about these guys, are the blades on these. The clips work well. One would hope. It's a tried and true design. They have a nice form factor, very nice concept, and they're working to hit a price point that I think is very nice and very accessible. And you know what? I can see how some folks would be really happy with them. If you love the design, you're looking for that price point, then this is an automatic knife that is not bad. It's not dangerous. It's not particularly, terrible in any way. But it might be available to somebody who can't afford to go higher end, can't afford 200 or something like that. But I gotta be honest with you, for me, I just can't do it. For a couple of things. I mean, the aesthetic doesn't work for me. I have enough gas station knives in my life. Thank you very much. The warranty forbidden the assembly is just ugly, and the blade play on these guys just kills it for me. Look, I know that at some level the blade play is fine. That's just how they're designed. They're still going to be safe. It's not like they're unlocking or anything like that. I mean, they're secure, but at the same time, I just can't do it. For whatever reason, the fact that I have grown up in a knife world where pivots are, very secure and a blade that shakes around is dangerous means that I just can't do it. I handle this guy I'm cutting with it. It's just like, oh God, no, put it down, get a knife that works. I know that this is my own personal bias, perhaps more than anything. I know that I just cannot abide this level of blade play, even when the knife is designed to have it otherwise. But it completely means that I can't go there. I just can't do it. And the most important part of it, though, is that automatic is actually not that important to me. Having an automatic knife is cool, certainly. Fires very reliably, but the thing is, having a non-automatic knife, like this ZT450 here, is also cool, and this also fires reliably and just frankly as quickly. And this actually has some advantages in that you can close and open with one hand very, very easily. There's a lot of joy to it. And so to me, the fact that it is automatic is not all that important in the grand scheme of things. And I would much rather pay $120 for a rock-solid sort of flipper from another company than I would get an automatic knife at this kind of price point with this crazy amount of blade play. In summary, I think these are a fine choice if you want to pay relatively little money for an automatic knife with good materials and things like that. But I would much rather buy a non-automatic knife that is competitively priced and competitively built. So anyways, there you go. I hope this has been interesting to you. Let me know in the comments if you love yours, if you've had issues with them, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.